who is this guy? And he would do his country music and stuff. And I finally got to sit down with him after one of his shows. And as we were talking, I'm like, man, this guy's kind of deep. Yeah. So I think you're the perfect guest to have on a podcast.
What was your impression of Jai the first time you met him?
Well, to be honest, I thought, who is this clown sitting in the back, aiming way higher than he should be with the women?
Hey, you know what, though?
You always aim high. You have to.
He does have that badge. That kind of increases his profile.
That's right.
Yeah, so, brings him to a different level. So, tell me about, after you first interacted, was there any type of oddness knowing that, hey, you're friends with this guy that is well known in the Twin Cities? He's someone that everywhere he goes, there's people that recognize you. I mean, I'm not trying to make you some gigantic celebrity, but enough people know you that, you
we were out earlier today, and somebody stopped by and recognized him from one of his shows. But I will say this. I mean, I was not a country fan at all.
You weren't?
No.
You converted him?
I think it was a conversion process. I mean,
I wasn't transitioning. We're not going to talk about transitioning here, but we're going to.
Or maybe it was Morgan Wallen.
Well, I mean, it was Morgan Wallen, maybe a little Doug Allen Nash. But I will say this, started talking to him, and one thing we had in common that really built our friendship was Tim originally went to school for law enforcement.
Really?
And that's something that people don't understand or don't know about you. So kind of dig into that a little bit.
And that's one thing, when I met Jai, first off, was I connected with the law enforcement thing right away because, I went to school to be a law enforcement officer. I always wanted to be a cop when I was growing up. And then I started to play guitar, and things just started to change. Although playing guitar, as my parents would always tell me, was a great dream to follow.
Yeah.
Although you always have to have a backup plan. Mm-hmm. And I've always been a realist. Yeah. So I never really intended that I would be able to make a living playing guitar. So I was in the law enforcement path. I went to school for it, criminal justice and stuff, and went to St. Cloud State and Duluth, and then finished at Metro State here in the Twin Cities. And but by the time I was getting to that final senior year, which took I think 5.5 years, which oftentimes is the case, I was playing a lot of shows, and I was like, I kind of want to give this a go.
Yeah.
And I'm still at that point where I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, man.
Until I gotta saddle up and get that W-2 from someone else.
So this is how many years ago? I'm not trying to date you, like 20 years?
God, I'm getting old.
Yeah. How long, man?
Well, when I moved to St. Paul, when I transferred to Metro State, I was 21 years old.
Yeah.
And so I was just old enough to get into the bars, and I've been doing it ever since, so 21 years now. That's
awesome, man. Honestly, I grew up playing bass guitar, right? You and I, we actually met at a fundraiser. It was a rally. It was a rally, like a political type of thing. And I know who you are because I would bar back and bounce at no longer exists, but Vanelli's Bar. And I remember bouncing the door, and all these people are coming in, and then, it was packed down there, and I was like, who is this guy? And you were like playing and doing your thing, and I'm like, hey, this actually isn't too bad. I'm not.
So you liked him at the beginning because I'm like, who is this guy?
Well, no, I thought I respect musicians, right? And so because I grew up playing bass guitar, I played in multiple bands growing up. I even went out to Hollywood when I was 17 to try and do.
So I didn't know this about you.
Yeah,
I mean, we're gonna have to dive into this a little bit about you going to.
No, Devil's Lake, North Dakota to Hollywood. And me and my best friend Jared were out there, and we literally walked around on Hollywood Boulevard looking for a drummer because I played bass. My best friend played guitar. We both kind of did vocals, and he had a whole drum kit set up in the hotel. And we just walked down the strip, and there'd be people banging on drums and stuff. And we're like, hey, do you want to come back to the hotel and jam out and let's see how this sounds? And we found this dude. His name was Quebec. And it worked perfect. And there was actually a recording studio not too far from us. And we're like, let's just record a demo, right? This is circa 2002, sorry. And let's go and try and old school, hand it to record execs and see if someone will listen. And my best friend, had a family member that was already involved in the industry out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So I've always had, like, I respect musicians that can take that skill and they don't quit and they go on and they do their thing. And so I've always, like, so that's why the first time I met you, I was like, you know, you didn't meet me, so it's kind of weird. But the first time I saw you and then I heard you playing and you had this passion, I was like, even though I don't like country music, this dude's pretty cool. And then so fast forward, we meet at this, you know, rally. And, you know, Jai came up, he was like, do you know who Tim Sigler is? I'm like, yeah, man, that's this dude right here. And then we started chatting, and I was like, yo, I had no idea.
Crazy.
Like, you just have, like, this deep political insight on stuff, and we were talking about a bunch of different things, but you were just, like, honest, real, upfront. And so, yeah, man, that was my first impression of you. I wanted to ask you, like, when it comes to politics, like, how did you first cut your teeth? Was this something you grew up, like, having political beliefs? Did you develop it in college? Like, what was it, man?
You know, growing up, my mom was a teacher and did a lot of substitute teaching, and she was DFL at the time, and you know, a lot of my friends were GOP, and I kind of navigated the world myself, and I aligned with the GOP as a youngster. And as I got older, I started to just, I wanted to drop the labels.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, because I don't think we all have to fit into a box.
Yeah.
And I guess if you had to slap a label on what I believe, it's just more libertarian. And so, you know, here in Minnesota, where it's, you know, unfortunately, it's the way things work. It's a two-party system, more or less.
Right. Yeah.
And I hope someday we can live to see that grow. But with the limitations of a two-party system, I find myself identifying more with GOP candidates.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I met you at, you know, we talked at one of the Scott Jensen rallies.
Yeah. See, I didn't want to out you, man. So I was like, yeah, a political rally.
Outed. Voting for Scott Jensen right here.
Hey, there you go, man. That's awesome.
Dr. Scott Jensen.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to ask, like, with your relationship with Tim, like, when you go out and, you know, you go to his concerts, right?
Yeah, I've been to
What's that
one
like?
or two.
What's that like, man?
Oh, you know, it's always a good time, and we're gonna get you out to some of those concerts too. And
remember,
we want to get some other people
old
come out.
married guy. I've been married 18 years, man. I'm the old man.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna still have fun. You're gonna get out there. You're gonna do some line dancing or whatever you do.
And I was gonna say, I've got some cowboy hats, and I know we're all from the Big Head Club.
We are. I got a gigantic head.
We all have pretty large heads here, and Jai's put on a hat or two of mine.
Yeah.
And they fit, so I got some extra ones. So
there you go. Well, he's a hat guy, so it all works out.
I mean, I wear a hat all the time because losing my hair. I mean, I'm not ashamed of my genetics.
We might have to shave it on the show at some point.
Hey, Kate,
that'd be weird though. That'd be weird. Wouldn't it be weird if we both had shaved heads?
Well,
people would think we're brothers or something, right?
Look, if we do it, Tim will do it. That's for sure. but
the difference would be yours is a shaved head, Jai's is a bald head.
There's difference. Hey, I will admit, I have the cul-de-sac going. If I grew out my hair, it's definitely the cul-de-sac.
Drive slow, children
You got the Carl Winslow?
Children playing.
Yes, I do. But Tim, I wanted to ask you, how hard of a decision was it for you going from going to school for law enforcement, wanting to dedicate your life to that, to, dang, I think I might make more money and be more happy as a musician? Like, kind of walk me through that and our audience through that.
I will tell you, it was not easy, and it's become more challenging as I've grown older, wiser, more mature.
How often do you think about it?
Oh, every time I see a cop on the street, because I realize what they're doing, putting their life on the line for a job that's thankless. And I know how there's a shortage of good cops, good guys out there that are willing to do it, especially when, you know, there's a lot of good guys that would have done it that maybe now wouldn't do it because they're discouraged by the climate of things. And it makes me feel the need, like a calling, to put on that badge and to go out there and to help people. And every cop that still is around has to have some of that calling. And I believe that because, they're not in it for the money, And so there's so many cops out there that are on the verge of, maybe I should switch careers or whatever. And we just, as a society, I know we need them more than ever. And so for me, someone that does my job, that's, easy per se, and way less dangerous than you guys, what you have to deal with. I might get a beer bottle thrown at me, but it's not a concrete block or Molotov cocktail. And I feel like I feel a little bit guilty that I didn't do it because I felt like that I was going to be good for that job.
Yeah, but you also give back now, right? You do it in a different way. You're an advocate for law enforcement, and I've seen that at your shows. I've seen that knowing you on a personal level. You play a lot of concerts that give back to public safety. Talk about that a little bit. Talk about why that is something that you advocate for.
Real quick?
Go ahead, man. Crack it up.
Well, Ham's beer. St. Paul.
Honestly, you mentioning that feeling, right? I myself have thought kind of the same thing. Like, we've never told you about this.
Well, I didn't know you went out to L.A.
Right. So I also had a phase.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
I also had a phase where I was considering law enforcement. I was talking with a guy at Rasmussen about doing their law enforcement program, and this is because I was managing a Super America, and I had to do overnight a few times.
So you met a lot of cops, I'm assuming. Yep.
And so a couple of guys came in and they're like, yeah, you got to lose some weight, but if you could do some stuff like that.
No, you don't. We have a radio. We have a radio, so we're good.
And so I was like, maybe I will take a look at this, but I've got medical issues, and I'm open about it, so this isn't like a secret. And I talk about my medical stuff all the time if someone asks me. But I have a lot of medical conditions, and so because of those medical conditions, after I talked to some cops, are like, yeah, I mean, you could go and do all the things, but no one's going to hire you with the medical issues that you got.
They might now.
Yeah.
Right. And so
AK is the new Minneapolis police officer.
Right. Sign up, man. Sign up.
And honestly, like I had kind of the same type of thing, right? Like there's times, because I actually, there was a YMCA after school. I worked at an after school program with the YMCA, and there was a director who left that job at 40 and he became a cop, right? And I remember that, and I was like 25, 26. I'm like, this 40-year-old dude literally never been in law enforcement, and now he's a cop. And then there's that TV show, The Rookie, and that guy's supposed to be like 50. So it's like there's probably some barriers, as long as you have the physical, you can pass the physicals and all that, like whatever, the PT stuff or whatever it is. But yeah, man, when you say that, I've had like that same feeling. Now I want to ask you, Jai, do you have like a different perspective, right? Because you've been in law enforcement for 17 years, right? That, do you feel weird when people kind of like are like, hey man, thank you so much for what you do? Is that a weird feeling?
And hold on, before you answer that, Jai, I mean, maybe you should let people know that we're kind of polar opposites in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you were pursuing a career in country music, and then you gave it up to become a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, I was more along the lines of bluegrass. But yeah, so I left bluegrass to go into law enforcement.
Pretty mouth.
No, joking, but to your question, I would say this. I think now having support of people coming up to you and saying, "Hey, thank you for what you do," or it doesn't get old. I think it's something that I appreciate that on a very personal level.
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of people give up a lot in this profession, and I've seen a lot of people in this profession leave, so it never gets old to me.
Sure.
To do that, and I'm very thankful for people like Tim that is not shy. They're not shy about that in front of a mic.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people that come out to your shows, and I've heard you say, this goes out to the the women and men that get bricks thrown at them.
Yeah.
I mean, you flat out have said that, and you're not shy of doing that.
The last few years have been really tough to watch what's happened to law enforcement, and just with the situation here, especially in Minneapolis and St. Paul. And I just feel like you guys are being thrown out with a bit, babies being thrown out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And so it's an easy thing for me to do. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm speaking for everybody that sits, silently in their house, with their family, and they feel safe. Mm-hmm. We all thank you guys for what you do, and I have the privilege of having a microphone.
Yeah.
So, I feel like it's my duty. It's the least I can do, and I feel the same with, soldiers that sign up and go to fight our wars and to keep us safe. It's like we don't have anything without those guys or you guys. And, AK, like Jai and I we're talking to you before. We went out to a local bar here, the 1029, which is, primarily known as a cop bar here in Minneapolis. Had a couple cocktails, and we were talking to an older gentleman that was in law enforcement and also served overseas. And, he was very grateful that we acknowledged him and his service. And I just feel like a lot of people think it. A lot of people would say it if they're asked about it. But like, I have a microphone, so I'm going to always say it because I feel like you guys are under, in law enforcement, are under attack a lot. And, there's bad apples. Every career has bad apples. But like, you guys do a great job, and you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it because it's a calling, and you're helping to keep us all safe. And you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your communities, for your families, for your fellow Americans. Because, like, to me, military and law enforcement is the same thing.
Yeah.
People
that put their lives on the line, their families. When you walk out that door, and especially if you have children and a spouse, there's always a chance that you don't come back, and it's because you're voluntarily, at least unless there's a draft, putting your life on the line, not necessarily knowing what's going to happen. So I've had always that same type of, reverence would probably be for people that actually do put their life on the line. Firefighters, same type of deal.
Right. There's a lot of
even
first responders,
EMS, EMTs, because again, they deal with people that are.
Look, and also, we cannot forget about our telecommunicators too. I mean, these people that take the calls, get us dispatched. Yeah, they get the abuse from the public that is not talked about, and I wish people knew that more. I mean, it is a tough job, and we can't forget about them.
They're very high stress, right? Because
very high stress.
They have to talk to people on the worst situations. They have to hear that, having to take some of that stuff home. 100%, that's something that we really
a lot of time without closure too. But you have that mic and you have that platform to talk about your support for our military and our public safety. And it's very appreciated. But I also know that can get you in trouble, right? And let's talk a little bit about the political side of that. And you've been vocal politically about certain things. And one of those things has been the COVID restrictions, right? With shutting down bars, let's see where the governor is going to turn that dial every 2 weeks or whatever it was, where it's like, okay, we're going to now allow people in the bars, but only till 11 or 10 o'clock or whatever it was. And it really took a toll on you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about right there between everything you've been saying. Like, shout out to the dispatch people because they're literally like the old school Twitter before Twitter, where people can call in and say whatever they want
with no consequences.
Yes.
They can't ban or unfollow them.
Yeah.
So shout out to everyone that's supporting law enforcement and fire and all the first responders, because it is a team effort, and like, you guys all work together to make this happen, to make us safe, to give us the lives and the freedom to do what we do.
Right.
To have the luxury of guys like me to be able to go sing, and for the luxury people to go out to a bar and sing.
Yeah.
And so then you tie that into the COVID stuff, where it's like that is a right to do those things that we have become accustomed to as Americans, thanks to our soldiers and to our first responders that give us the America that we love. And that's where the COVID thing really started to rub me raw. And, just on the heels of Scott Jensen being in your studio yesterday for your first podcast, I don't know Tim Walz personally, Governor Tim Walz. And, everything I've seen from him seems like he's maybe got good intentions.
Sure.
But I feel like he's dropped the ball a lot with the COVID stuff. And to me, people that drop the ball are given a pass, but they have to acknowledge that they dropped the ball in order to grow and learn from those mistakes, in order to better themselves, especially in a leadership role. Because, when it comes to like Governor Walz, he's the leader of our state. And, I always boil things down to the private sector when it comes to politics, because I don't think there should be a free pass for anyone that has a job. Everyone listening to this podcast has a job, most likely. If anyone that works at your job wasn't showing up and doing the right thing, they would be fired.
Yep.
And so I'm really tired of politics and how people are given a free pass because they align with political views or whatever. And so I will double down and say that as a libertarian or as someone that, believes more in the two-party system being GOP, even though I disagree with a lot of things, I would say fire them if they are doing a terrible job.
Yeah.
And that's where it boils down to me when it comes to politics and with the COVID response and how things were handled, especially, not just, I don't want to make it personal about just me, even though I have a, very personal story with that. But just, representing musicians and businesses that were targeted as non-essential and shut down and I might drink the rest of this beer right now because it's going to give me.
Yeah,
look, I'll tell you this. I mean, I know you're saying you don't want to get personal, but I've known you, and I know that there is a personal element there that I want to dive into, and you can tell me to pound sand. So I'm happy AK's in between us, but
you're lucky.
I'll hold him back. I'll hold him back.
Let's not go too far, but I will say this: when it comes to that, whatever you're comfortable, touch on that, right? Like I think, as your friend, it did take a toll on you, right? On certain aspects, and are you willing to dive in a little bit about that toll it did take?
And I was talking to some friends before I did this podcast and stuff, and I knew that the politics of this would come up with COVID because that is my personal story that connects to it. And it feels a little bit, like woe is me. So I don't want to make it about me. But I will tell you there's a lot of people like me that literally had their entire jobs taken away, and we didn't know when they would come back. And so, Jai, we were talking earlier today at 10:29 over some beers about how at first it was going to be a 2-week shutdown, and it was everybody. We're all in this together. And I'm okay with that because it brought us together. It was almost like a terrorist attack where it's like alien invasion. COVID's attacking us. We're in this together.
Yeah.
But then when it became, we're going to pick and choose who's important, whose jobs matter, and then we're going to divvy out certain, funds to help certain industries versus others, it became very, I don't even know the word to say without swearing and stuff, because
can he swear on this show? I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, probably don't go super ham, but you can drop a word here or there. Yeah.
Don't go total ham. I might, but like, it's just un-American. Let's just say that it's wrong. It's wrong to pick and choose, and that boils down to everything we fight for as Americans with equality and everything. The government has no right to pick and choose who wins and who loses, and that is fundamentally my problem with politicians these days.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of go back to a point that you raised that I think is important to understand. Put this in proper context. When you talk about, you don't know the intention, you don't necessarily doubt the intention that Walz wanted to help. I think that really doesn't matter, right? Because I'm going to assume that most people that are elected aren't here to destroy the state.
Yeah, they don't have bad intentions.
But what
I do
matters?
not think he was
me either.
Malice.
Me either. But
no malicious intent.
that means that it doesn't matter if his intentions. The question is, did he rise to the occasion? Did he serve the state of Minnesota in a way that made sense? And was he open and transparent? And the answer to those are no.
Well, add another one to that.
Yeah.
Are you answering to the people? Right.
That's important.
Are you answering to what you did? And to me, that's in a form of a debate.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that too. Be open and transparent. But back to the issue that you're talking about, right? Is I think that Walz started to do these things, and there's a lack of leadership, a failure of leadership. And to your point, when the government starts picking and choosing winners and losers, we always have to remember that there are actual victims to the winners being picked by the government, because the government controls everything, right? Mm-hmm. What can the governor do that I can't do? I can shut my business down, but the governor can say, cops, law enforcement, go and shut that business down. And you're obligated to a point, right, to have to listen to what the orders are if you pass an emergency order and say, this is what we have to do. And it puts law enforcement in a very tough position, right? But here's the thing.
Talking about resources, too.
Right. But when the government does that, you are picking and choosing winners and losers, and the victims, the people, the fallout. So I want you to tell me about, clearly, throughout your years as a musician, you've probably got to know a bunch of owners, a bunch of service staff all across the Twin Cities. Mm-hmm. What was that like, seeing their lives just completely flipped over?
Well, it's not even just the owners of businesses and stuff, of people that hire me or anything like that. It's just people in general. Like, as a performer that does, probably 80% of my shows are in bars, I'm playing for the people of Minnesota for the most part. A lot in Wisconsin, a lot more since COVID. Mm-hmm. And, people come out to my shows that work hard. They work hard all week. They bust their ass, 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And they come there to have a good time. And I feel like doing this as long as I have, I've learned that everyone is there for a reason, and a lot of times the reason is because they need a little break from life, because life is hard.
Yeah.
Life was hard before COVID, and they just need a break.
Yeah,
and that's what gave me fuel. Is like, I felt bad not putting on the badge and responding to domestic calls and putting my life in line. However, I did feel good knowing that I was helping people. And there was even times when people were suicidal at my shows, or I'd see domestics happen at my shows where I would help to de-escalate things. And then there was other times when there was some douche there mouthing off when I maybe helped to escalate things. But
well, it talks about the stress relief, right? Like you give entertainment that it helps people get away from the daily stressors. And one thing for me, first of all, I mean, when Minnesota was shut down, you packed your bags and you went over to Wisconsin, right? You were in Hudson, and you played a lot when Wisconsin was open and Minnesota was not.
Well, I just want to add that, like, I didn't do that just recklessly. I did it after the point when I thought that COVID wasn't as big of a threat. And I didn't do that saying that I'm a doctor. And that's a lot of the flack that I got from when I did start playing in Wisconsin, driving across the border.
Well, you got a little political in front of the mic, right? When you well, first of all, going over there is political within itself. But then you opened up a little bit about your political stances when you were in front of the mic in Hudson. And what kind of, tell me the people that you lost, or did you hear, which I know you did, so you better tell some of the stories.
I think what you're alluding to is when Minnesota shut down and everything was shut down for the first 2 weeks, I knew that people would be kind of feeling scared and losing their out to get away at the bars or live music and things like that. So I literally did live streams every day for the first 2 weeks, thinking that we're in this together. This will be, come on, buckle down, people. Like, it's almost like we're at war with this COVID plague that none of us knew what it was. And so I felt like I would live stream every night. It would be my little service that I could do to help people and help myself feel like there's some normalcy, like we're getting close to a victory if we just buckle down. And I did that every night. And then it was after those first 2 weeks when some states decided to go different routes, and we started to go a different route here in Minnesota. That's when I started to get a little bit more upset because I felt under attack as an American with rights of how are my rights being taken away? How are the rights of my family and my friends here in Minnesota being taken away when people that live 30 minutes east of me, across the river in Wisconsin, are able to have those rights restored? When people to South Dakota, to the west, South Dakota, North Dakota, have their rights restored. I can't remember what Iowa did. I think they were pretty short after that they were restored. And I look around the country, and there's a lot of places that were restored. And what really made me mad was I felt like we were aligned with California and New York as being the most hardcore lockdown states without justification. And so, yeah, I went to Wisconsin and started to play because that's where I felt I could help people and also provide for my family.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask kind of along that lines. You touched on it, provide for your family. I don't expect you to tell me exactly, but I can only imagine that if you go from making your living for, let's say, 20 years before the lockdowns happened, or 19 years before the lockdowns happened. I mean, how did it affect your ability to actually provide for your family?
Well, it's I was talking to Jai about this earlier. I won't go into numbers, but from in 2019, my band's income was down 90%.
Wow.
90%. And, a lot of that comes, we were shut down, I believe it was March 20th, 23rd, something like that. And, probably 70% of our income comes in the summer, with all the festivals and street dances and fairs and things like that. So that was completely wiped out. And I was down 90%. And, I only say that just because I know that there were other musicians, other bars, restaurants, people that were labeled as, part of what I felt we were labeled as the problem, super spreader type groups that were, shut down. And, Minnesota had further shutdowns, and then it was, we're going to let people come out, but only 4 people per table, reservations required. you got to be done by 10 p.m. And then it was like, okay, well, now we'll maybe let 6 people, and then 11, then it's back to 10. And, there were so many changes here in Minnesota that were just, where are these numbers coming from?
Yeah.
That's what really bothered me. Mm-hmm. It would have been better if he would have just kept it hardcore on us, locked down. Mm-hmm. But it was because he would be like, all right, we're going to do this. I got to pull back. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it's like he kept, and when I say he, I refer to Governor Walz. He was referring to numbers and stuff from his people and his people that were collecting data. And this gets to a further problem that currently exists that everyone deals with, where it's like, where are the numbers come from? What can you believe? You have to flip on the news. We're so divided now that you can't even hear anything that's questionable and believe it.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, you just have to look at different states, right? So if we compare ourselves to South Dakota, North Dakota, and then let's go all the way across the country down to the panhandle part of the United States and Florida, where they didn't do really anything that Minnesota did, right? And people thrived. And when you actually end up looking at all of the data points of people that lived, this is why I come back to this point, and people hate to hear this, but I think it's very important to keep this in mind. The reason we're not just rehashing the past and saying let's point fingers, because there's something to learn here, is that there was a failure in leadership that people, I think, want to move past and say, well, Walz did the best that he could. But the thing is, compare him to other states.
You're right.
And say, how did we measure, and were there people that in different states, different leadership groups that made different decisions? The answer is yes. So we have to be able to say, we need to hold you accountable. Now, if Walz came out and said, here's all the data, here's all the reasons, hold me accountable, here's why I did it, I think people would be like, oh, okay, I guess. But he refuses to do that. And to another point, right, I just read literally yesterday, that there is a new variant called the XBB variant. And the XBB variant, according to those in the know, is able to evade all known immunity. And so the Daily Beast, for instance, they're the ones that are sounding the alarm. So let's be very clear about this. This is not about rehashing the past and trying to point fingers. This is saying, if the doomsayers are right, and now we have a new COVID variant that is going to elude all immunity, are these same governors, if elected and put in power for another 4 years, going to do the same thing and destroy economies and people's lives again? Because I think there is a very clear difference. But it'd be nice for the media to ask that question to a governor.
Well, that's a good question for tomorrow's debate between Scott Jensen and Governor Walz.
I hope someone asks it.
So if they don't ask it, I hope Dr. Jensen
is that going to be on TV?
It won't be on TV in the metro area.
In Rochester.
So you can live stream it from Dr. Scott Jensen.
Can you cover that
a
little bit?
Yeah, no, so they didn't open it up as of yesterday to the Twin Cities markets. It was basically down in Rochester and then I think Austin or something like that, which is just such a weird thing. But hey, I wanted to ask you this too. You have some obviously very strong and passionate opinions. How do you feel about expressing those opinions while you're performing? Like your political, not thinking first responders, but like your political. Like, where do you stand on it? Do you think that's like something you don't like to do? Do you like to do it? And when you do it, is your crowd like really about it?
Great question.
Yeah.
Can I jump back to some of the stuff you're saying? I was just going to say, AK,
you're our guest, brother. You do whatever you want.
You were totally right when it comes to comparing to other states.
Yeah.
And when COVID first hit, we were all terrified. We didn't know what was happening. We were all in this together. And then, I myself initially thought that it sounded like something we're all going to get eventually. Let's all just get it. Segregate for 2 weeks into our apartments or houses, live by ourselves, suck it up. Those that need help go to the hospital, and then we'll come out stronger. That didn't happen. But I'm not a doctor. And so, I do find comfort in Dr. Jensen talking about things because he actually knows some stuff about this stuff. But like I had friends that were down in Florida going on vacation like a week after Minnesota's closure first, opened up, but it was kind of a half open like thing, not fully open. And the media nationwide was covering Florida beaches are open. There's going to be this massive super spreader event. Oh my God. And I remember texting them saying like, hey, Florida's kind of wide open. They're not taking this serious. You got to be careful. Like, you should probably get out of there, cancel your family vacation and come home. And they were worried too. And they took precautions, but they stayed down there and they came home. And I kept waiting for the
death and mayhem to wave over you.
Mayhem to roll into Florida, and it never came. And so you're right. It matters what other governors did, but maybe not at first.
Yeah,
because
sure.
we didn't know. It was a bit of a gamble.
Yeah,
where every governor is not an expert because this is a new thing.
Talking about human lives, right?
Human lives.
And I just want to point out real quick that Barb Hoagland, what up, Barb? She's actually from my hometown, and she's the mother of one of my good friends. But she says, as a nurse, I understood the shutdown. Hospital ICUs were taxed. Many patients were discharged too early or sent home instead of being admitted. So, yeah, at the beginning, like and especially we're talking about nurses, like they're the saints of saints here. But when it came to what people did at the beginning, we understood. Like, we're all saying that, right? But the question is, after things progress, and as you're getting to, you're waiting. And wait, I was the same way, man, because I didn't know. I mean, I read the news all the time. And so that's why, as it kind of keeps going forward, you're like, when's it going to hit?
Yep. And we kept waiting and it never did hit. And so, in a way, DeSantis in Florida maybe got lucky because it never did hit.
Yeah.
But the problem becomes after that, not the gray area after the first 2 weeks, not the 2 to 3 or 4 weeks. It's what did Walz do after that? Why did he keep doing it? And the thing that really bothers me as he really tries to portray himself as just one of us that's, not trying to appease Pelosi or anyone. Like, he's not a career politician. He's there for us.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, but like I'm saying, that's what he said.
Yeah.
And like, who's telling him to keep things shut down and to keep doing this stuff? And like, literally, we were one of the worst shutdown states in the country, and it doesn't make any sense at all. And you look at the data compared to everybody. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that early on, after 3 or 4 weeks, that no one was really getting affected too much.
Sure.
And don't get me started on, how I would have approached things if I was a leader.
Sure.
Because I'm not an expert on COVID, nor is Walz, but he took his advice from people in his camp. I would have taken advice from people in my camp if I was governor, and I'd be like, let's put some money into these assisted living and senior housing, make sure grandma and grandpa are taken care of. Let's protect them. They need help. Let's not shut down our schools and our kids.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm going to need to switch to something stronger if we start talking about.
Do you want to announce your candidacy now, or should we wait till the end of the show to talk about
Sigler for governor for 2028 after. Well, if Jensen doesn't run after.
Well, we gotta get to something else. I want to talk a little bit about music, right? With we got to do that.
I want you to answer that question though about politics, how you feel, because I think about like
my opinion.
Yeah, like I think about like a band like Green Day, right?
Sure.
They get out there and Billy Joel's like, yeah. Republicans suck, vote Democrat.
So, when I was younger and I was more staunchly like, I'm Republican.
Yeah.
As I've grown older, I've become more empathetic with people. And I'm more libertarian in the sense that I just want government to leave us alone, take care of our roads.
Yeah. But do you say that at your shows?
I don't say it quite that far because that's a long talk.
Sure.
They leave.
How do you
Yeah,
feel?
I would be
when they do
throwing
that?
beers at him by
Like,
then.
how do you
However-
feel like when people do that, though?
However, though,
Yeah.
I did say some things during my shows when things were coming back halfway, and yeah, I caught some flack for it.
Sure.
And to the people I offended, I'm sorry. But I do want to say this, that I wasn't coming from a judgmental place towards anyone, because I literally don't think it's a political issue.
Sure.
And the same thing for law enforcement. I don't think it's a Democratic or Republican issue. It's like, I want us to be free. I want us to be safe. And I want our leaders to consider that above all else, regardless of what people in their ears from, the coasts or wherever they're hearing things, whatever they're hearing. I want them to think of us first. And, I boil things down to, like, local politics matter. The mayor of a small town, he might be a great mayor that people know and trust. He might not have the same beliefs on abortion as you. And, you just ratchet that up to the governor.
Sure.
We're a small state. I want our governor to take care of us. I don't want it to be about, whether he's aligned with his party fully and gets everything. And I know that there's issues when it comes to getting funding and stuff like that, but that's what's wrong with politics. And I don't like that. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I have a problem with, both sides that cater towards getting the dollar and stuff like that. So when I've spoken out, yeah, I've gotten flack for it. And I never thought about it in the sense of what I would feel like if I was at that show. However, we talked about Bruce Springsteen earlier. I love Bruce Springsteen.
What do they call it? What's his nickname? The
boss.
The boss.
The boss.
The boss.
The boss.
How do you square that, man? Like how most normal humans do? Like,
well,
I don't take my political cues from my musicians.
Well, oddly enough, the first time I was thrown into the political realm was when I was I think I was maybe 21 or 22. I actually had a Bruce Springsteen tribute band because I love the boss. And I love it. AK, do you love the boss?
I mean,
I'm on fire.
I don't not like.
What's
the
your
boss.
favorite Bruce Springsteen?
Bro, I mean, I don't have a favorite Bruce Springsteen. I was born in a small town.
There you go.
Born in a small town.
And how does that go?
Born in a small town.
Am I thinking of Born in the USA? Are those two different songs?
Yes.
Are they the same? Are they different?
Basically the same thing.
Well, we
Same
gotta get to some of the. I mean, you have a challenge, right? Like, I mean, talk a little bit about the challenge. I don't know.
We're gonna hard right turn right now.
Do we have a video of this?
Are we gonna hard right turn now?
Is there a video of me ranting or something?
Oh, look at this.
Oh.
This is the whiskey, wine, and beer challenge.
This is during the
shot of
COVID.
whiskey.
This is
during the COVID lockdowns.
This is the worst
Now
challenge
look at Jai in
ever.
the tracksuit. Look at him. Look at as I whoop his ass, drinking beers.
This is where I'm like, oh my god,
Look at
this
him
is
spilling,
horrible.
Look at him spilling down his front. Oh,
Yeah,
he's
and I'm like,
going
I'm
down
out,
his
I'm
front.
out, I'm
He's gonna
out.
Run off the camera.
So with that, I think we need to do it. I mean, I've done the challenge. It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, so
And,
we're going back to
Jai,
these are
what-
during the COVID lockdowns. I put out
Exactly what we're
my
doing?
first EP.
Now you said
Terrible
that this
timing.
you said that this is the worst thing that you ever did.
Yeah.
in your
So
life.
what we do here? Well, Tim, why don't you explain what the
Yeah,
challenge
where did
is
this
here?
challenge come from?
So
and
during COVID, I released
me
my
why
first
Minnesotans are
EP.
so-
Hold on. Oh no.
Actually finished recording it in Texas
During
right before
Yep.
COVID, and so we had a release. I believe it was like during June, during one of the fake reopenings, and there's a song on there called "Whiskey, Wine, and Beer," and that video you saw was Officer Jai doing
Horrible.
his best.
I mean, the song's great. The challenge is horrible.
This is not no shot. Okay, man.
So it was fun because during the
what?
live streams,
I don't want you to. I don't
All
want
right,
you
dude.
to make me not be.
AK, I would have people send in videos across the
There.
country
That's good.
of doing the whiskey, wine, and
I
beer
mean, that was
challenge.
close.
Because
I was
It's
close.
whiskey, wine, and then beer.
Yeah, because we're bored.
So do you
We're
have?
looking for something
Do we have the song ready?
Or no, actually, you know.
Oh,
what, Tim,
actually, yeah.
Tim in studio is going to show us.
I did bring my guitar.
Now, this might be very jarring to everyone paying attention at this point, but I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory here. Jai had sent me a text message, and he said, "Hey, man, why don't you come out? I'm hanging out with Tim, and we're going to do this whiskey, wine, and beer challenge." And he's, I made fun of him. I said, "Looks like Tim whooped you, dude." And you said, what'd you say to me when I said that Tim whooped you?
Wait.
I mean,
I think you said you said something along the lines of like pretty big words from a guy that's not taking the challenge. And I said,
yeah, I did, yeah.
And I said, listen,
that sounds about right.
Listen, there's two things you gotta know about me. One, I'm from North Dakota, and I don't care about what these Minnesota boys say. North Dakotans are much hardier when it comes to drinking. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's flatter and colder. But two,
I'm going to give this one to you, Tim.
I was in an organization called the College Republicans.
Oh, here we go.
And because I was in the College Republicans, we used to drink and do all these different challenges and all this different stuff. So I told you.
That's why they don't win statewide.
They play chess and math.
That's why
we're really good at chess and math. And so I said, yeah, man, I mean, like, I got this down. So, cue this up for me. So is there a specific point in which I'm supposed to take this?
Okay, so the challenge is.
Yep.
When the chorus of the song comes on, we'll jump right to the chorus.
Yeah.
It's about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And you got to do a shot of whiskey, wine, and beer before it's done.
Okay.
Now, if it was Jai doing it, I would suggest we maybe have like a bib, perhaps a throw-up bucket, and definitely some napkins.
I'm not a professional drinker. I don't
North
drink
Dakota
that often. So
guy right here, I think.
Do you guys
North
want
Dakota
me to
tough.
start
North Dakota
with the
tough.
regular song? Is that what he said
Well,
before?
No, he's
Or
going to
just
play it.
play
He's
it?
got
I'm
the
gonna play
guitar.
it live.
We'll see how well we can hear from the microphone. You
In
tell
the
me.
words of Bill O'Reilly, we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
So that's your tempo right there. Feel the bass going?
is this goat roping music to you?
This is very goat.
All right, here we go, chorus.
Yeah.
A shot of whiskey, wine, and beer, only three things I hold dear. Yeah, they've always got my back with a memory of beers. Living out a country song I knew would never last for long. She's the reason why we're here. Oh,
Yeah.
shit, you man, whiskey, wine,
That's how you be a man.
beer.
Not a
AK.
drop spilled.
Good Lord.
You're a man from North Dakota.
Jai,
So,
Jai, why aren't you a man like AK? God, be
You
a
know
man.
what?
Be a man.
I was born in the
Do we have
dark.
more glasses? Can Jai do it?
No, we're done. Yeah, no, that is not happening.
And you know what? Shout out to my old College Republican buddies, Trevor Ford, Ryan Mad Dog Madsen. If they remember, we used to shotgun beers. And
Shots fired from Hutchinson.
I can
Look at
drink.
Wait a minute. Is that our current sheriff? Our current sheriff's talking
I think
shit.
so. I think so.
Officer down.
And you want to know what, though? I can drink a beer straight faster than most people can shotgun a beer, just so you know.
Well, shout out to North Dakota. Good job, man.
Yeah, mad respect. Mad respect.
Well done, man. That was impressive.
Yeah, you want to do it again?
I mean, I could. I don't know if
my
I should. There's the wife. Better call an Uber. Man, honestly, I think it's important for everyone that's tuned into this episode. You might be like, hey, this is a lot different than this Jensen episode. But this is the thing. We really want this show to reach out to a very wide audience.
Yeah.
We're not going to be set in a box because this is the important aspect, right? Anyone that's been listening knows that there are things that do beat you up. Right. And I think it's important to not put ourselves in these little boxes, but to also speak our actual values and talk about the things that matter to us. As a musician in the Twin Cities that's had a very successful career, understanding that these policies do impact people. And this is my thing. I'll never tell
On a personal level. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll never tell someone you're wrong for being a Democrat or a liberal or a progressive. No. I'll never say that. I just want to have a conversation about why do you want to do the things that you want to do. And I think that it actually makes everyone stronger when you have these conversations that are meaningful and open and honest. Yes. And if someone's not, we got to call it out. That's 100% what it has to come down to.
I think we all need to be able to listen to people from the other side and to have that dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's refreshing about Scott Jensen when I listened to your podcast with him yesterday was that, yeah, lately I've been a little bit frustrated with politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And he was refreshing because he was out of the political game.
Yeah.
He was fine. He was a doctor. He could have rode off into the sunset and been happy.
Mm-hmm.
But he really felt like somebody needed to say something.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody with the expertise of being a lifelong doctor. One that's, what was the award he won several times?
2016.
Yeah, Family Physician of the Year from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I mean, so.
How quickly people forget, right? I mean, they go after him how many times? 6 times, I think he said.
That's part of a bigger problem with society is we forget things. It's like, it's easy to forget. I think a lot of people, even like right now listening to things, forget how bad the lockdowns in Minnesota were versus other states for no gain. And why did we do those? Is there any accountability to that?
Yeah.
And, whether his intentions were good or not, it wasn't from a place of leadership.
Right.
And so whether he's Republican or Democrat,
You'd hold them to the same standard, right? Like,
absolutely.
Wouldn't matter who they were. I wanted to kind of ask you again in regards to your musical career. Going forward, if the same thing happens, right? Like, I know everything.
And I'm afraid it might.
Right. How do you feel that the people will react, right? Like, what is your intuition? Do you think that the people that you've interacted with could handle another lockdown in that same regard?
So I'm a bit cynical.
Sure.
Of the way, how fast we kind of caved and just kind of got into lockstep with this is what we hear on the news, this is what we see, this is something we have to do. And people were willing to give up their rights and stuff like that. And I'm all for that if we're under attack from aliens or
This is the second time you brought up aliens, so.
Well, I have to say that because I believe that like COVID was such an unknown thing that I have to give it that gravitas that it was bigger than anything we've known. And so like, for example, like what was it 2 months ago when the national media started talking about monkeypox and we're like, what? We're all getting kind of worried about what's going on.
Yeah, you're slowly migrating. I think the aliens are slowly taking Tim off of screen. There we go.
I mean, I can't.
Honestly, I think having this type of discussion with you have a lot of political insight that I think is refreshing because you don't come from the political landscape, right? Like, you are someone that loves to bring people happiness. Like, I think that's, you might roll your eyes and be like, come on, man, I love music. But like, that's really what music does. Like, I'm a person, I love all types of genres of music. It's not like I hate country, but it's just not my thing, man. It's just not my thing. Like, I'm like hard rock, like 90s grunge, like that's my jam. That's what I grew up like. I have a Nirvana drunken smiley face tattoo on my arm. You can't see very well. There you go. Because Nirvana is my favorite band of all time. But just when it comes to country, man, it's I don't know what it is.
Are we gonna get you out to a show?
I'll come out for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come.
So let's plug some. What shows do you got coming out? And then me and AK are gonna come out.
All right,
I'll wear a hat.
I say we got the perfect show for him. Halloween weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah, what are you going to dress up as?
I dressed up as something that was the same as Dave Chappelle's show when I was 16. I probably shouldn't dress up as that.
You dressed up as something Dave Chappelle makes fun of?
So Dave Chappelle had a skit with a gentleman named Clayton Bigsby, and I actually dressed up the same, but 2 years before Dave Chappelle did the skit. I probably shouldn't dress up as that.
Usually I would ask more questions, but I'm not even going to go there on this one.
We'll let the Dave Chappelle show, aficionados figure that one out.
Yeah, man, come on.
But yeah,
Jersey's on October 29th. Come on.
And that's
Jersey's is great. I mean, they're the Burger Battle
Invergrove Heights,
champions, right? They won the Burger Battle in the past.
Yeah, good food.
Yeah, they're great.
Awesome.
Chad, you got your costume picked out yet?
I'll figure something out. I might go as a cop. I don't know yet, but I will be there.
Is that your go-to?
Yeah.
Is that your just go as a cop every year?
15 years in a row.
15 years in a row?
Yeah, so...
Hey, Jai and AK.
Yeah, man.
Or I guess mostly Jai because you've seen him. But so as like someone who's seen Tim, so you can kind of honk his horn where Tim would look like a dick if he did it. What is his show like? What can people expect? What are your favorite things that he does?
You know what? Here's what I said. I will say this: not liking country music before kind of going out and seeing Tim play and getting used to it and learning more songs. One thing you can get from a Sigler show is people are gonna have fun. People are in a good mood.
Yeah.
They're ready to unwind after a hard week, and people are just genuinely happy to be there. And you make a lot of friends. So even if you go by yourself, I have a friend, Scott Bugler. He always shows up at shows by himself. And he leaves there with a whole bunch of friends. So it is one of those things that even if you don't go there with a lot of people, you're going to meet a lot of people.
So, yeah, if you show up solo, you might leave with,
and
a caravan of
Democrats,
people.
Republicans, I promise, no political rants.
Yeah. So that's important. No political rants. You're about the music. You're about helping people escape.
I never really answered your question.
That's fine.
I'm totally okay when musicians want to speak their voice because they have a right to speak their voice. I just want to know when it's going to happen. Roger Waters, Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
He was just in town. I didn't get to go to the show. I wanted to.
Yeah.
He's very well known, outspoken.
Yeah. Speaks his political mind. Yep.
Very left leaning, and that's okay. I love his music. But at the beginning of his show, it's gotten every time he's come through town, it's gotten bigger and bigger. So now at the front of the show, he had a banner scroll across the stage.
Yeah.
Big lights saying, if you're the type of person that just wants to hear my music and is offended by my political rants,
leave.
Then fucking piss off. You go to the bar right now because I'm about to let it fly. And you let them know what you're getting.
Hey, that's fine.
Somebody also just wrote, Becca wrote, Tim also engages with fans, and you absolutely do. I mean, you're great with talking to everyone, and it's a fun time. Just come on out. AK will be there soon, and you can see it. He might
look
play
for him in a
guitar.
cowboy hat. It's coming soon.
You know what? I might wear a cowboy hat. I don't know about cowboy boots because
I have a horse, ride an AK.
I have very wide feet. Like if you were to ever see my foot without a sock on, you'd be like, "Yo, those are some Ninja Turtle feet." I got some Ninja Turtle feet. So.
Well,
you know what? This has been a great podcast, man. Honestly, I think it's a great episode.
Thank you for coming on, yeah.
Because it shows that we're not just all serious, snuffy, stuffed up. I should say, stuffy. I guess not snuffy, but we're not gonna be in this box. If those of you that are listening to the audio, you're not gonna appreciate, but I am wearing a Boys in the Hood T-shirt that features Cube. Right,
I was going to wear that shirt as well.
And Cuba, Mr. Cuba Gooden Jr. And this is just more proof that we're not going to fit these typical boxes that you think people should fit in politics.
You got Johnny Cash.
Ice Cube. And I'll be honest, I haven't watched Boys in the Hood enough to actually know what the names of the characters are. I just love.
It's a cool shirt.
It's a cool shirt. I love the political reference. I love Cube, actually. I think Cube is great. And someone will probably in the comments say like, "Oh, this is like." I honestly have no idea what the names are.
That's for Hutch.
I again, thank you for everyone.
Real quick, you got the Halloween show coming up at Jersey's,
October
and then
29th.
What other ones? We got a shout out
Every Sunday I'm at Ziggy's in Stillwater.
Okay,
come on out.
Ziggy's
Solo
Stillwater.
Taking requests.
Awesome.
I'll play you Boys to Men, whatever you want to hear.
Oh, Boys to Men.
Boys to Men. Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. Boys to Men.
We'll hit it all. We'll hit it all.
Jai, I know you love Boys to Men.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Although I'm not playing I'll Make Love to You because that's like super gay.
Okay, how about On Bended Knee? On Bended Knee.
Nothing against gay people, but I'm not singing that to Jai.
Yeah, on Bended Knee.
On bended knee.
Yeah,
Oh,
just like
for
that.
sure.
There we
Yeah,
go.
okay, perfect. Thank you
For
so much
sure.
for coming on, Tim. It was a treat having you on, man. Being able to see this interaction between you and Jai as friends. I think we became friends.
We're good friends, my friend.
We're friends.
Hey,
now. Yeah.
we're going out drinking after this, right?
Probably not, because my wife will.
Mrs. AK? He's going to be home late.
Mrs. AK. Thank you so much, Tim. I'm AK Kamara.
I'm Jai Hansen.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you like and share the show. Listen to our streams online, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And we will see you next time.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys.
Thank you,
Window Store
Tim.
is your locally owned and operated go-to source for high-quality updates at affordable prices. They specialize in windows, kitchen refacing, roofing, and entry doors. After 20-plus years of going above and beyond for homeowners in Minnesota and in Wisconsin, they are proud to be one of the top home improvement companies in the country. With over 900-plus reviews on Google and an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, you can count on them to provide you with the best possible experience. Now, they're a company that you can depend on for your current and future projects, all backed by their done right guarantee. They'll provide you with straightforward, honest pricing and ensure that you are getting the best products for your needs installed by trained, licensed, and certified professionals. You can visit them online at www.windowstoreinc.com and let them guide you through every step of the process from start to finish.